For 460 volts 60 amps welding receptacles, a disconnect is indeed required for each outlet. This requirement stems from electrical safety codes and is designed to protect personnel and equipment. The necessity of a disconnect at each welding receptacle is rooted in several key considerations. Firstly, safety is paramount. Welding operations involve high currents and voltages which pose significant electrical shock and arc flash hazards. A disconnect switch provides a means to quickly and safely de-energize the circuit at the point of use in the event of an emergency, equipment malfunction, or during routine maintenance. This immediate shut-off capability can prevent serious injuries or fatalities. Secondly, compliance with electrical codes is mandatory. Electrical codes, such as the National Electrical Code or NEC, which is widely adopted in the United States, provide detailed guidelines for the safe installation and operation of electrical systems. These codes often specify the requirements for disconnects based on voltage, amperage, and the type of equipment being used. For welding receptacles operating at 460 volts and 60 amps, the NEC typically mandates a disconnect within sight of the receptacle or capable of being locked in the open position. The specific requirements can be found in relevant articles of the NEC, such as Article 630, which covers welding equipment. Thirdly, operational efficiency is enhanced. Having a disconnect at each welding receptacle allows for localized control of the power supply. This means that welders can easily turn off the power to their individual workstation without affecting other welding operations in the area. This is particularly useful in large fabrication shops or industrial settings where multiple welding stations are in use simultaneously. It also simplifies maintenance and troubleshooting as individual circuits can be isolated without disrupting the entire electrical system. Fourthly, equipment protection is crucial. Welding equipment is often sensitive to voltage fluctuations and power surges. A disconnect switch can serve as a means to quickly isolate the equipment from the power supply during such events, protecting it from damage. Furthermore, disconnects can be incorporated with overcurrent protection devices, such as fuses or circuit breakers, to provide additional protection against short circuits and overloads. Fifthly, lockout-tagout procedures are facilitated. Lockout-tagout, or LOTO, is a safety procedure used to ensure that dangerous machines are properly shut off and not able to be started up again prior to the completion of maintenance or servicing work. A disconnect switch provides a convenient and reliable means for implementing LOTO procedures on welding circuits. By locking the disconnect in the open position, workers can safely perform maintenance without the risk of accidental energization. To ensure compliance and safety, it is essential to consult the applicable electrical codes and regulations for the specific location where the welding receptacles are being installed. A qualified electrician should be involved in the design and installation of the electrical system to ensure that all requirements are met. The disconnect switch itself should be properly rated for the voltage and current of the welding circuit. It should also be suitable for the environmental conditions in which it will be used, such as temperature, humidity, and the presence of dust or corrosive substances. The disconnect switch should be readily accessible and clearly labeled to indicate its function. Workers should be trained on the proper operation of the disconnect switch and the associated safety procedures. Regular inspections and maintenance should be performed to ensure that the disconnect switch is in good working order. Any defects or malfunctions should be promptly corrected. In addition to the NEC, other standards and regulations may apply depending on the specific industry or application. For example, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, has regulations regarding electrical safety in the workplace, which may include requirements for disconnects on welding equipment. In summary, the requirement for a disconnect at each 460 volts 60 amps welding receptacle is a critical safety measure that is mandated by electrical codes and regulations. It provides a means to quickly de-energize the circuit in the event of an emergency, protects personnel from electrical shock and arc flash hazards, enhances operational efficiency, protects equipment from damage, and facilitates lockout-tagout procedures. By understanding and complying with these requirements, employers and workers can create a safer and more productive welding environment. The NEC provides specific guidelines on disconnect requirements for welding equipment. Article 630.11 outlines the general requirements for disconnecting means. It states that a disconnecting means shall be provided in the supply circuit for each welding machine or combination of machines. The disconnecting means must be capable of interrupting the supply circuit under full load conditions. For welding receptacles, the disconnecting means is typically a switch or circuit breaker located near the receptacle. The NEC also addresses the location of the disconnecting means. Section 630.13 states that the disconnecting means shall be readily accessible and located within sight from the welding machine. If the disconnecting means is not within sight, it must be capable of being locked in the open position. This requirement ensures that workers can safely de-energize the welding circuit before performing any maintenance or repairs. The NEC also specifies the ampacity rating of the disconnecting means. The disconnecting means must have an ampacity rating not less than the supply conductor ampacity. This ensures that the disconnecting means is capable of safely carrying the full load current of the welding circuit. In addition to the NEC requirements, local codes and regulations may also apply. It is important to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to determine the specific requirements for a particular installation. When selecting a disconnect switch for a welding receptacle, there are several factors to consider. Firstly, the voltage and current rating of the switch must be compatible with the welding circuit. Secondly, the switch must be suitable for the environmental conditions in which it will be used. Thirdly, the switch must be easy to operate and maintain. There are several different types of disconnect switches available, including fusible disconnect switches, non-fusible disconnect switches, and circuit breakers. Fusible disconnect switches provide overcurrent protection in addition to disconnecting the circuit. Non-fusible disconnect switches only provide disconnecting means. Circuit breakers can be used as disconnects, but they also provide overcurrent protection. The choice of disconnect switch will depend on the specific application and the requirements of the electrical code. In addition to the disconnecting means, it is also important to provide overcurrent protection for the welding circuit. Overcurrent protection devices, such as fuses or circuit breakers, protect the circuit from damage caused by short circuits and overloads. The overcurrent protection device must be sized according to the ampacity of the conductors and the rating of the welding equipment. The NEC provides detailed guidelines on overcurrent protection for welding circuits in Article 630. The installation of welding receptacles and disconnects should be performed by a qualified electrician. The electrician should be familiar with the NEC and local codes and regulations. The electrician should also use appropriate safety precautions when working on electrical circuits. Before working on any electrical circuit, it is important to de-energize the circuit and verify that it is de-energized using a voltage tester. Lockout-tagout procedures should be followed to prevent accidental energization of the circuit. Welding is a potentially hazardous activity, and it is important to take all necessary safety precautions to protect workers from electrical shock and arc flash hazards. By following the NEC and local codes and regulations, and by using qualified electricians, employers can ensure that welding operations are performed safely. The requirement for disconnects at welding receptacles is not just a matter of code compliance, it is a matter of safety. Disconnects provide a critical safety feature that can protect workers from serious injury or death. Therefore, it is essential to ensure that disconnects are properly installed and maintained at all welding receptacles. Furthermore, regular inspections of the electrical system, including welding receptacles and disconnects, should be conducted to identify and correct any potential hazards. These inspections should be performed by qualified personnel who are familiar with electrical safety codes and regulations. In addition to the technical aspects of disconnects, it is also important to address the human factors involved in electrical safety. Workers should be trained on the proper use of welding equipment, including the location and operation of disconnects. They should also be trained on the hazards of electricity and the importance of following safety procedures. Clear and concise signage should be posted near welding receptacles to remind workers of the safety precautions that should be taken. These signs should include information on the location of the disconnect, the proper procedures for de-energizing the circuit, and the potential hazards of electricity. By combining technical expertise with a strong safety culture, employers can create a welding environment that is both productive and safe. In conclusion, the requirement for a disconnect at each 460-volt 60 amps welding receptacle is a critical safety measure that is mandated by electrical codes and regulations. It provides a means to quickly de-energize the circuit in the event of an emergency, protects personnel from electrical shock and arc flash hazards, enhances operational efficiency, protects equipment from damage, and facilitates lockout-tagout procedures. By understanding and complying with these requirements, employers and workers can create a safer and more productive welding environment. Remember to always consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector to ensure that all electrical installations meet the applicable codes and regulations. Regular inspections and maintenance should be performed to ensure that all electrical equipment is in good working order. And most importantly, always prioritize safety when working with electricity.